Hey, friends. We are here today with Tawny Newsome from Star Trek Lower Decks, which is hilarious, an animated show. But you also might recognize her from her when she portrayed Mariner in the live stream version of it, or the live version of it. But before, I want to ask you about the campaign and the activation that's going on. But I wanted to have a question for you. Growing up in Chicago, growing up, the Star Trek, the original series was always on in the background for me. It was like my reruns. What pulled me in was Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. Those were like my go-tos, and I loved watching those. And that's what opened up the world of Star Trek for me. For you, what was the one show that brought you into that world? And then when you became part of it, like how did that feel for you?
Yeah, I think similarly, it was Deep Space Nine for me. Like the Next Generation was always on and very present and felt like a safe, like warm hug. But Deep Space Nine was like that was the hook. That was the one that made me lean forward, even at my young age when I was watching it. And then as I rewatched it as an adult, I was like, oh, this is why I'm a Star Trek fan.
And then when you became part of it, when you were on, I mean, obviously you were voicing the character, but then also you did the live version of your character. How did that feel to be on the actual set, I guess you say?
Yeah, I mean, it was very cool. There were so many buttons and plastic knobs and things to touch and press, and I broke a few things. I left. I'll say.
Nice, nice, nice. Uh, um, I know that you do have a podcast, the Pod Directive. Are we ever gonna? Is that coming back anytime soon?
Ask the people who schedule it because it ain't
Oh,
me.
oh, okay, all right. I had a friend ask me. He's like, "Oh, if you're gonna talk to her, ask her about this," because they're a huge listener.
I would love to, and that's what I say anytime anyone emails me and says, "Do you want to record more of these?" I go, "I would love to. Here are my dates," and then who knows?
Right. Well, hopefully someone will watch this and be like, "Let's get on it. Let's get that going again."
Yeah,
Um, when it comes to any type of like show, there's always spin-off shows. And sometimes the spin-off shows do well, sometimes they don't. But Star Trek has a pretty great record of all their spin-off shows doing amazing. For you, what do you think it was about the animated show that really that you're going to be in a fifth season soon? So what was it about this show that you think that really gravitated people towards it to give it the success that it's had?
yeah. I think people were ready to try something different. I also think like this fandom had been doing their own jokes and bits and memes about Star Trek for 60 years. We've all been doing the same jokes and sharing the same, grainy Tumblr account, parody bits and stuff. And so to have an official stamp on it and to do what the fans have always been doing from a very loving, like fan driven place, but to have the official, like this is canon, this is in universe. I think everyone was just like, oh, finally, like this is the stuff we've been joking about online for years, and now it's actually in canon and in the franchise. So yeah, I just think everyone was ready for a little like release.
And it's also great too for those that were not like as versed in Star Trek to find this show, and it's like it's a great starting point for them too because watching this they might want to learn about everything else that's going on or that happened before. So I think that's what's so perfect about this show too.
Yeah, yeah.
So that
I was just gonna back off of what you're saying. At conventions all the time, people tell me this is their first Trek, and I'm always like, "Whoa, really?" Because there's so many references, there's so many in jokes, and they're like, "Yeah, this is my first Trek," and then this made me go back and watch everything. So we have a little chant that we like to do. Of course, people do the lower decks chant at conventions, but I also like to chant the words "gateway drug" because I think our show is Trek.
nice, nice, yeah. But it's a good gateway drug. Let's leave it at that for like any kids that are watching. So this weekend, 6th through the 8th, here in Chicago, they're doing the activation, uh, take the chair, make an impact. Tell us a little bit more about that, and then about the three charities that are involved, because it's code.org, there's DoSomething.org, and then there's also the Outright International. So what can fans expect with seeing these, and then about these organizations, how can they participate?
Yeah, so basically, the Take the Chair activation is all about like social impact. It's about getting involved with your community. It covers everything from LGBTQ inclusion to voting, getting involved in local politics, which is very prescient and important always, but especially right now. And that's, something I love about Star Trek is that you can be a fan of this franchise no matter what social thing you're dealing with at the time, because the franchise cares as much about these social causes and about creating impact as you do. So it's not something like you have to turn off your brain when you're a Star Trek fan. Like, we're as activated and as active in these spaces as people are. So I think that it's a cool marriage of the two to get to literally make an impact.
Awesome, awesome. Definitely, it's something that if you're in Chicago, I know it's happening on in like two other locations throughout the country. So
Yeah.
if it's around you, definitely go out there and look at it. But I guess since you were in Chicago for the Paul Theater, and then also an alumni of the Second City, when you're in Chicago, what's the one place that you have to visit? Either it's a restaurant or like a store that you always have to make sure to check out.
That is a good question. I always end up at Big Star for some tacos, which is crazy because I live in Los Angeles and I eat tacos all the time. But like, I don't know, Big Stars, I remember when it opened here. So it's kind of nostalgic for me. Um, I always end up at the High Low in Humboldt Park just because like my friends live around there and it's just a solid little neighborhood bar. I think Chicago does the like cute neighborhood bar scene way better than LA does. So yeah, I usually end up in little places like that because I'm like, oh, Parsons. I'm always at Parsons. Yeah. Food I eat and I drink when I come here. That's the best thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great restaurants opening up soon. So, I mean, definitely partake. And then I just want to finish off with this one. Being that we're from Chicago or you've been in Chicago, what is the one movie or television show that's filmed or based in Chicago that is like your favorite?
Okay, so I haven't watched The Bear yet at all, even though I know it's a big thing and I know it's amazing and I have friends in it. I just haven't watched it. I haven't been watching a lot of TV because I've been writing a lot of TV, and sometimes it can be hard to have too many influences happening at once. So I know that that's incredible. So that's my caveat. As far as things that are based here, I mean, I really loved that like one season of the High Fidelity show that we got with Zoe Kravitz. I don't know why they didn't make more of that because that movie was great and it was a cool premise. So yeah,
Well, hopefully after Blink Twice, maybe they'll do a second season, but we'll wait and see.
I don't think they can afford her anymore, but sure.
Definitely. Well, again, friends, Star Trek Day is September 8th. If you're in one of the cities where this activation is going, definitely check it out. Check out these charities too. I'll put them in our comments here so you can look at them. Thank you very much for your time today. And I think the only way we could end this is by saying live long and
Yeah,
prosper.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.